ache for into a very practical quality that we wish to express. So we're human beings on this journey, are we not? We are divine beings, but we are also human beings. We're both. And it's hard to sit there, you know, when we're in this place now and we're thinking, or when you're in the dark before you go to sleep, or just as you're waking, you know, we want those mystical experiences. You know, we don't think about paying bills or the practicalities of life, paying the rent or negotiating stoplights or getting to the store, you know, that sort of thing. As spiritual beings, we want it to be ecstatic and blissful all the time. So it's really good to consider the practicalities of love. I mean, love moves through us in many, many, many different ways. There are many types of love. There's parental love. There's tough love. There's romantic love. There's our love for pets, or maybe love for that fabulous food. Oh, I love this food. The Sami peoples, the circumpolar Sami peoples, the Lapps, they have hundreds of names for snow. But we only have one name for love, even though it manifests in many, many, many different ways, doesn't it? So sometimes we love people in many different ways and with many different practicalities. I mean, we love people to boost our sense of worthiness, so we feel good, don't we? And sometimes we have people in our lives that we love to manipulate for our own purposes, so we feel better, or we get the rent paid, or whatever it is that we're doing. And we can also call that love. At other times, there's an infatuation kind of love, you know, that romantic, you know, where all you can think about is that other, that divine presence in the other. And this is kind of narcissistic and self-indulgent in the long run, and it's not too helpful if you think about it over time. You know, infatuation love is the honeymoon period, and we all know it's going to end. Sometimes love is a very passionate desire for an artistic expression, music or dance or painting, or, you know, just whatever it is that you wish to bring into being. It could be a housing development. You know, it doesn't matter, but it can be a passion, you know, when you love your work or you love your art, you know, that sort of thing. Or if you go to the ballet, I love the ballet. Whatever. So there's many, many different kinds of love. For renunciates, you know, people that live in monasteries and ashrams, then love takes the form of practices and that devotion to the unseen. So they have regular prayers, they have regular, you know, so that's the form. The forms of love are many. So just like when you go into a movie theater, and there's one light that shines through that celluloid, and you get many colors, many forms, characters, actors, the plot unfolds, motion. But in truth, that light is one, isn't it? With a myriad of expression for us to entertain ourselves with. There's only one light. It's a pure white light that is flowing through the celluloid film, expressing itself in many, many, many different ways. So when you look at the ways that we express love toward each other, it's really just that one light that expresses through the projector of our perceptions, of our beliefs, of our memories, of what we experience in the past. Unless it's divine love, love with a capital L, that one presence Zelda and I were talking about this earlier, about being perfectly present. Eckhart Tolle talks about, many teachers talk about just living in the presence of that one light before we have the judgment of the color, of the motion, of the dance, or how it's going to be expressed in that world. Our real job is just to be present to exactly what we're feeling. And we find ourselves going on, say you're on the freeway and cars are going too fast and the judgment comes up. Find one thing that you can value, that you can appreciate, that you can love, or that you can be fully present in. Oftentimes it's a flower, or maybe just a chair, the shape and form of the chair, of being perfectly present to that chair. I wrote a whole different talk, and I got up in the morning and this story came into my head, and I absolutely wanted to share this story with you, so I'm just going to go off the page if you don't mind. My daughter, whom some of you have met, April, she was named, believe it or not, after the resurrection. Spring. It can be different for you, darling. It can be exactly the way you want it. You're new. Create it yourself. And I was one of those mothers that breastfed, and I loved that time in the middle of the night when she asked me to get up and change her and, to feed her. And at the time I lived 8 blocks from the ocean in Monterey, and I could hear the seals barking and the ocean, that amniotic sense. Now, I was the kind of mom that didn't get to do this for very long because she started sleeping at 6 weeks. She started sleeping all the way through the night. But those first 6 weeks were glorious, that very precious time together. And one time I was sitting there in the rocking chair, and she had fallen asleep, that little cherub's face. We've all seen this. We may even remember our own. The pink little lips open, just perfectly relaxed in my arms. That's faith, isn't it? Perfectly relaxed in my arms. And just that little rosebud mouth, and she had a couple of drops of mother's milk, down her face. And I was overcome with this sense of love, as often parents are, aren't we? And it was like my mind, I just started talking to her, and I'm looking down at her in total enamorada. And I love you. Not because you're beautiful, which you are. And not because you're mine, which you are. And not because, and I went on and on and on. Who knows? Time sort of stopped for me then. About 15 minutes of I love you because, or not because. And I was getting to what love really is. And it dawned on me, finally, I love you because you are in the way of my love. You're in the way of that one light. You're in the way of who I am. And you're there to receive that. Isn't that magnificent? To have someone that it's safe to be fully present with. Basking in that love. And I'm sitting there, I'm so pleased with myself. I'm holding my baby, Oh, yes, this is it. And then I got wide-eyed, and I'm getting chills right now, remembering this aha moment. And that was, oh my goodness. You love me, not because I care for you, which I do, not because I play with you, which I do, not because I feed you, which I do. On and on and on, my mind went on about the things that I do as a mother. You love me because I am in the way of your love. So here we were, 2 people in the middle of the night or in the middle of the morning having the love fest. in the way of each other's very natural presence. This is what you call, even though it's parental love, this is unconditional love. Those of you that have been parents, you know that there are nights when you're up in the middle of the night and you have to get up at 5:30 in the morning and you're going to work and maybe you're going to do that important presentation or whatever it is, and you've been up all night with the sick baby with the colic or teething or whatever, and you don't love them less. But as Zelda became aware, sometimes you have other feelings on top of that. Well, this isn't fun, but I'm with you, kid. You know? Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about, being present to the truth of your being. So divine love, love with that capital L, God kind of love, can be a very different thing than what we think it is. It's not always our partner bringing us Valentines or chocolates or flowers, and this is all very nice. This is wonderful. I can't wait to get into the chocolate-covered strawberries. My favorite. But divine love, that, like divine mind, with that capital, that essence of our being, who we are, that people get in the way of. I mean, people get in the way of other emotions as well, don't we? I mean, we project out there all the time. We get in the, have you ever been in the grocery store and everything's just fine, you know, everything's lovely, and you're standing in line, and all of a sudden, you're like, I feel really sad right now. Why do I feel really sad? What's going on? We're getting in the way of someone's sadness close to us. Have you ever thought of that? Sometimes emotions are not yours. It's good to check in and say, is this sadness really mine? Is this sense of poverty, is this really mine? Is this really mine? Am I really thinking this? Because if I am, I want to change that one, you know? But sometimes it's not really yours, and you can just give it away to Mother Earth or to consciousness itself, because God knows what to do with this stuff. Or you can just embrace it and love it. Just love it. There's a whole Tibetan spiritual meditation practice called Tonglen, where you breathe in the pain of the world and you breathe out love. But you have to be very, your vessel has to be very golden to do that kind of meditation, so that you don't own this pain and suffering, right? So one of the curious things about Eastern teachings is that they often talk about the containers of life. This room works for us because of its emptiness. It has doors and windows, but a room is empty, and then we can come into it and fill it. It's useful because of it is a container. Yeah? For example, Taoism, that's a beautiful teaching from China, about 2,500 years old. You've heard of the Tao Te Ching. Probably most of us have. Lao Tzu says, clay is formed into a vessel, and it is because of its emptiness that the vessel is useful. So actually, if you think about it, the world that we know is really just a whole bunch of vessels, isn't it? That's what avatar means. Actually, we're all avatars. In one sense, it means a vessel, a container. There's other meanings on top of that, you know, someone born, awakened, etc., etc. But an avatar means empty vessels. So they can be filled, vessels can distribute, and we can radiate different kinds of energies through these vessels. There is a saying that says, it takes a golden vessel to hold tiger's milk. Now, I don't think I would want to be the one to go out and test that, you know. Tiger's milk is for baby tigers. But anything less than gold would break down in this very strong liquid. Any alloy, anything less than gold.